Hello, your friendly neighborhood host, JT Wheatley, back again for another episode of the History of Comic Books podcast. This time on another episode of the classics. A little detour though, we're going to be doing Batman, the animated series. This is a classic cartoon show run by Alan Burnett, along with notable people like Bruce Timm, who did much of the art direction, also Paul Dini, who did much of the brilliant writing, that ran from 1992 to 1995 for 85 episodes, and quite frankly is the definitive version of Batman. It's beginning brilliantly with On Other Wings, in which Batman takes on the Man-Bat and then going into all sorts of crazy and fun directions, from Christopher the Joker, a classic Joker episode, and so forth. And you have simply, this is one of the best cartoons, period. And like I said before, definitive Batman. Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman Bruce Wayne, does a brilliant performance and wisely plays Batman as using his regular voice for Batman while using a fake voice for Bruce Wayne. As anyone knows, Batman is his real identity. Bruce Wayne is the mask he wears. Of course, that vocal cast was rounded up in more brilliant performances, notably Mark Hamill as the Joker, who, yes, Luke Skywalker gives the definitive version of the Joker. He's so brilliant. And, of course, a lot of great vocal cast as well. Ron Perlman provided voice for Clayface in some classic episodes. Melissa Gilbert was the voice of Batgirl initially. Just a great cast all around. David Warner, notably as Ra's al Ghul. That's a fantastic show, beautiful animation, and they just nailed everything about Batman. This show took everything that was great about Batman, from the comic books, the movies, and the TV shows up to that point, and put it into one brilliant, cohesive show that is everything. It's the best Batman, the best Robin, the best Mr. Freeze, as one of the classic episodes, Heart of Ice, depicted, which is the definitive Mr. Freeze origin story as far as anyone is concerned. Of course, brilliant Robin, brilliant Riddler, my mistake, voiced by the great John Glover before he was played Lionel Luthor, Lex Luthor's dad on Smallville. He was the voice of Edward Nygma / the Riddler on Batman the Animated Series. It's great casting all around. This was a smart show. It dealt with death and repercussions and didn't talk down to kids, despite the fact this was an afternoon kids show. And there were episodes about drug addiction and crime and so forth. And I still to this day, I remember watching the show when I was a kid, like, my goodness, you don't see cartoons as good before or after. It's a standard that has yet to be surpassed in cartoons and television and of course in Batman. And of course, you cannot talk about the Batman animated series without talking about the brilliant, late, great Shirley Walker, who, with a full orchestra. She originally was the composer for Tim Burton. Even though Tim Burton wrote that brilliant version for Batman, the 1989 film, it was Shirley Walker who was actually doing the composing with the orchestra. And, of course, they hired her to then go on and do the music for this. And, like, every villain had their own theme. Every show had its own theme. And it's amazing. And the people that she actually mentored on the show have gone on to become the main composers for the current DC animated films, which is fantastic. And she left a legacy that is matched by no other. And it was from the Batman the Animated Series. We also got Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited, which is the DC fans' dream of everything you ever wanted. And also, you should throw in Static, too. That was also part of the larger DC animated universe that came out of this. And just as Batman the Animated Series is considered the definitive Batman, the DC animated series is, well, quite frankly, the definitive DC. They did everything great about DC and made it perfect. So, and seriously, like, a great example, a little off topic, but the world's finest three-parter, Superman, the animated series, in which he and Batman team up for the first time, is 10 times better than Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I mean, that is what they should have emulated. I don't know what Zack Snyder and the writers were thinking when they made that mess of a movie. But for now on, anyone wants to do an adaptation of the DC universe, you look to the DC animated universe, and especially look to Batman animated series, because they nailed everything right. Even better than the comic books. If I was on a desert island and I was told you only get one version of Batman, this is the version of Batman you get. And you can't go wrong here. And I recently brought this up because I finally got around to watch my Blu-ray set that was released last year that had collected all 85 episodes, along with Batman Mask of the Phantasm and Batman Sub-Zero, the two in-continuity movies that were part of the whole tradition. And I'll actually be doing episodes just on those, because both those movies are classics in their own right, and they're their own focus. But Batman the Animated Series, a true classic, the definitive Batman, and buy it, don't just rent it on, like, say, DC Online or streaming or so forth. Buy this. You want this on your shelf. One of the best cartoons ever made. One of the best TV shows ever made. And like I said, Definitive Batman, a true classic. And now is July 11th, 2019. Time for some reviews, but also a quick correction. I mentioned earlier in this Classics episode that it was Tim Burton that wrote the brilliant music for the Batman 89 film. No, my mistake. That was Danny Elfman. He wrote the definitive score for Batman. As great as Shirley Rocker was, everyone can recognize that score, and that score in the main theme is just as good as John Williams' score for Superman the movie. So when you think, when you hear that classic Danny Elfman score, you think Batman, and when you hear John Williams' Superman score, you think Superman. So my mistake on that part. Now, as for reviews, well, some family stuff came in the way, so I wasn't able to do the comic book store last night. So no new favorite comic book of the week. Though I've heard the latest Batman's pretty good. Definitely check that out if you read about it. But I do have some other comic-related reviews. For instance, I did watch the last season of Jessica Jones on Netflix, and I have to say it's definitely an improvement over the second season, as that show was a bit of a mess and it lasted way too long. I mean, 13 episodes is way too long for that story. It should have been maybe 2 or 3 at best, what they did with it. This season's a bit too long, too. I mean, they have yet to figure out a good length for Jessica Jones with 13 episodes. They should have cut that maybe to 10 or so forth, because just concentrating on one thing. Like Daredevil so far has been the only show that's been able to actually fill the 13-episode mark. But this last season still an improvement, as Jessica Jones, wonderfully played by Kristen Ritter, who does end the show on a high note, goes up against Gregory Salinger, who comic book fans from Marvel will know is the Fool Killer, wonderfully played by Jeremy Cobb, notably because he looks so normal, but the man's a crazy serial killer, which is very effective, and he knows how to push Jessica Jones' buttons in just the right way. Also, a neat subplot with Hellcat, played by Rachel Taylor, though I'm not quite sure how I liked how it ended up. But overall, if you are a Netflix subscriber and a fan of the series, go ahead and watch it, because it's apparently going to be the last one. Even if Marvel's able to revive it on Hulu or so forth, Kristen Ritter has mentioned she's maybe done with the character, but we'll see. Hopefully she comes back, because quite frankly, of all the Netflix shows, I thought she did at least give the best lead performance. She's always been my favorite character, especially on the Defenders show when they all teamed up. Also, I did catch Spider-Man Far From Home over the weekend, and like I've mentioned before, we are in the golden age of Spider-Man movies right now. Between this, Homecoming, and of course Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man's never been better on the big screen. Tom Holland remains brilliant as Peter Parker, and Zendaya is wonderful as MJ, which should note is Michelle, not Mary Jane, so don't get in a tizzy. And he gets great support from Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio. And I don't want to get too much into the plot, how Mysterio plays into it, because it's a very cool twist. But let's just say Mysterio is very well represented in a nice update to this classic character. Great visual effects and the direction by John Watts, great action, and a great way to wrap up Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Can't wait for Phase 4, especially after those end credits. And by the way, the mid-credit alone has one of my favorite moments in an MCU film, because an actor comes back playing a classic character, and I think I screamed like a little boy when I saw it. It was so good. And also, I want to give some shout-outs to my fellow upstate podcasters, Thunder Talk. My friends Dan and Adam have finally gotten around to making some actual episodes again. And it's like, honestly, the best way to describe it, it's a great variety podcast show. It's got interviews, music, skits, and so forth. Great to listen to. Though I'm not quite sure their views on Batman and his criminals. I would recommend, speaking of Batman the Animated Series, the classic episode, The Trial. That's the definitive take on about Batman and his relationship to his rogues gallery, if you ever wanted to get into a discussion about that. But overall, great show. Give it a listen. They're finally back up making real episodes, and it was great to have them back. And also, I have to give a quick shout-out to Adam. Yes, I did beat you reviewing The Walking Dead last issue, number 193. But hey, I'm the comic book guy, so if anyone's going to beat you, it should be me. But I also have to agree with you on your last Weekly Thunder. Yes, The Dark Knight is a brilliant movie, the best comic book adaptation ever made, and so good that the Academy Award nominated for Best Editing, because even they couldn't deny that to them. Granted, that film should have been nominated and won Best Picture that year, because come on, Slumdog Millionaire? Really? Maybe Wall-E, but even still, The Dark Knight should have won overall. And if anyone disagrees with me, you're welcome to do so in your old podcast. Oh, wait. Well, of course, all fun aside, I have to also give shout out to their fellow upstate podcasters, the Nerd Bliss with Chris and Tina, and of course, Enough of the BS with Josh and Tyler, a great sports podcast. And of course, Nerd Bliss is, as the description say, a great nerdy podcast. Great to listen to, and great to be this fun, ever-growing upstate podcasting family. Just a great time to be a podcaster. And if you have access, have fun with it. And on that note, too, I should note that the next 2 weeks I might be going dark as I'm going on vacation. And while I'll be taking my podcasting equipment with me, i.e. my laptop, I'm not sure I'll be able to crank out some episodes. We'll see how the things go. I'll definitely will if I can. And rest assured, I am still hard at work, for better or for worse, in the actual history episodes. I've got all 4 parts of my Spider-Man series recorded. I'm finishing up my Joe Kubert biography, and later on, I'll be doing the history of the Image comics, and that should be bringing me back to launching pretty soon. But until then, go out and enjoy yourself a good comic book, and most importantly, go out and watch Batman the Animated Series, a true classic.